Brooklyn, New York, a borough teeming with life, dreams, and aspirations. Yet even amidst the bustling energy, shadows lurk. Beneath the surface of everyday life, darkness can fester. In 1995, the bustling borough became the backdrop for a tragedy that would shake its residents to their core, a story of a young life brutally cut short. This is the story of Kimberly Antonakos. Kimberly Antonakos was a beacon of light in her family. She had dreams, aspirations, and a thirst for life that was evident to all who knew her. Kimberly was attending a local community college, diligently working towards a brighter future. She balanced her studies with a part-time job at a local pizza restaurant, contributing to the family income and saving for her future. She had dreams of graduating college, pursuing a career that she loved, and starting a family of her own. Dreams that would be shattered by an act of unimaginable cruelty. The year was 1995. The streets of Brooklyn were alive with the rhythm of life, unaware of the sinister plot being hatched in its midst. Joshua Torres, a 19-year-old with a history of criminal behavior, had been watching Kimberly. Torres, along with his two accomplices, saw an opportunity in Kimberly's innocence. They devised a plan to abduct Kimberly and hold her for ransom. Little did they know, their actions would have consequences far more reaching than they could have ever imagined. Kimberly Antonakos lived a life familiar to many young women in Brooklyn. She went to school, worked part-time, and dreamed of a future filled with love and success. Her life, though ordinary, was precious. She had a routine, a rhythm to her days that brought comfort and familiarity. Little did she know this sense of normalcy was about to be shattered. Evil was lurking in the shadows, waiting to snatch away her future. Kimberly lived in a world where she felt safe, protected by the love of her family and the familiarity of her neighborhood. She had no reason to suspect the danger that lurked just beyond her doorstep. The shadow of betrayal loomed large. Unbeknownst to Kimberly, danger lurked closer than she could have ever imagined. Joshua Torres, a young man she knew through her father, had been watching her. Torres, driven by a perverse sense of entitlement and a need for quick cash, saw Kimberly as an easy target. He had been planning her abduction for weeks, meticulously studying her routine, her movements, her vulnerabilities. He enlisted the help of two acquaintances to carry out his sinister plan. Their actions would have consequences far more reaching than they could have ever anticipated, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. March 28, 1995 dawned like any other day in Brooklyn. The sun rose, casting its warm glow on the bustling streets. As Kimberly made her way home that afternoon, she noticed a van slowly trailing behind her. Before she could react, the van screeched to a halt. Two men jumped out, their faces concealed by ski masks, their eyes glinting with a menacing intent. They grabbed Kimberly, their grip like iron, stifling her screams. Kimberly's abduction was swift, brutal, and calculated. The kidnappers took Kimberly to a derelict warehouse on the outskirts of Brooklyn. The warehouse, abandoned and forgotten, stood as a silent testament to the city's underbelly. They dragged her inside, her fear palpable as they led her through the labyrinthine corridors. They threw her into a damp, dimly lit basement, the air thick with the stench of decay and despair. Kimberly found herself trapped in a nightmare, her captors watching her every move. She was isolated, alone, and terrified. The kidnappers believed they had her family backed into a corner, their love for their daughter, their greatest weakness. The kidnappers wasted no time in making their demands known. A chilling phone call to Kimberly's family shattered their world. $75,000. That was the price they placed on Kimberly's life. Kimberly's father, though devastated, refused to let fear dictate his actions. He cooperated with the authorities, his every thought consumed by Kimberly's safety. The ransom demand was a cruel game orchestrated by desperate men. Every moment that passed was an eternity for Kimberly's family. The silence from the kidnappers was deafening. The uncertainty gnawed at their sanity. They clung to hope, even as fear threatened to consume them. The kidnappers, erratic and unpredictable, made communication difficult. The The failed ransom drop sent a chill down the spines of Kimberly's family. Days turned into nights, and still, there was no word from Kimberly's captors. The silence was unbearable, the uncertainty agonizing. The police, working tirelessly, followed every lead, every whisper, every rumor. The investigation, relentless in its pursuit of justice, seemed to hit dead end after dead end. Kimberly's family, their strength tested at every turn, refused to give up hope. They prayed for a miracle, for a sign, for anything that would lead them back to their beloved daughter. The pressure was mounting on Joshua Torres and his accomplices. The failed ransom drop had unraveled their plan. Fear, like a virus, began to spread through their ranks. Kimberly, her spirit unbroken, became a liability. They couldn't keep her hidden forever. The walls were closing in. Their greed had led them down a path of no return. Kimberly, her spirit broken by days of captivity, sensed a shift in her captor's demeanor. The smell of gasoline, pungent and unmistakable, filled the air. It was a scent that would forever be etched into Kimberly's final moments. Her heart raced, her mind struggling to comprehend the horror unfolding before her eyes. The flick of a lighter, a sudden burst of flame. Kimberly screamed, her voice lost in the inferno that engulfed the basement. The fire, fueled by gasoline and desperation, raged through the abandoned warehouse. Flames licked at the night sky, casting an eerie glow on the surrounding neighborhood. Firefighters, their faces illuminated by the flames, battled the inferno with a grim determination. They knew, even before they entered the building, that the chances of finding anyone alive were slim. Hours later, as the flames died down and the smoke cleared, the true extent of the horror became clear. Kimberly Antonakos, her body burned beyond recognition, was found huddled in the corner of the basement. The warehouse now stood as a macabre monument to the depths of human cruelty. The brutal murder of Kimberly Antonakos sent shockwaves through the community. Fear, like a shroud, settled over the neighborhood. No one felt safe, no one felt secure. Kimberly's family, their hearts shattered, struggled to comprehend the magnitude of their loss. Their daughter, their sister, their friend, was gone. The community, united in grief, rallied around the Antonakos family. The police, determined to bring her killers to justice, followed every lead, every clue, every whisper in the wind. The ashes of the abandoned warehouse held the secrets to Kimberly Antonakos' murder. Forensic teams meticulously combed through the debris, searching for any shred of evidence that would lead them to her killers. The investigation, led by seasoned detectives hardened by years of dealing with the city's underbelly, was relentless. They knew that time was of the essence. Every passing moment gave the killers another opportunity to slip through their grasp. The trail, though faint, began to emerge from the ashes. Witnesses, their memories jolted by the brutality of the crime, came forward with fragments of information. Fear had a way of silencing even the most courageous souls. But in the wake of Kimberly's murder, a collective sense of outrage and a desire for justice began to chip away at the wall of silence. Witnesses, initially hesitant to come forward, found their voices. They remembered seeing a van, similar to the one described by other witnesses, speeding away from the warehouse on the night of the fire. The pieces of the puzzle, though seemingly insignificant on their own, began to form a picture that pointed to Joshua Torres and his accomplices. The investigators, their determination fueled by a mix of professional obligation and a deeply personal desire to bring Kimberly's killers to justice, were closing in on their prey. Section 3. The net closes in. Armed with a warrant and fueled by a righteous fury, the police descended upon Joshua Torres's last known address. The element of surprise was crucial. They couldn't risk giving him time to destroy evidence or worse, disappear into the labyrinthine streets of the city. Torres, his arrogance replaced by a palpable fear, was apprehended without incident. His apartment, a testament to his chaotic life, yielded a treasure trove of evidence. Kimberly's missing cell phone, a gas can reeking of gasoline, and a ski mask discarded in a trash can. Dwayne Cummings, his nerve shattered by Torres's arrest, was picked up a few hours later. He confessed to his role in the kidnapping and murder, his words dripping with a chilling mix of remorse and self-preservation. The third accomplice, his identity still unknown, remained at large. But for now, the investigators allowed themselves a small measure of satisfaction. They had caught two of the monsters responsible for Kimberly's death. The wheels of justice began to turn in the case of Kimberly Antonakos. The courtroom became the focal point for a community seeking closure. Joshua Torres and Dwayne Cummings now faced the consequences of their actions. The weight of their crimes hung heavy in the air. The courtroom crackled with raw emotion. The prosecution presented a compelling case. They painted a picture of Kimberly, full of life and promise. They demanded justice for Kimberly and her family. The prosecution presented a mountain of evidence against Joshua Torres and Dwayne Cummings. Forensic experts linked gasoline found at the crime scene to a can in Torres's apartment. Kimberly's cell phone contained text messages discussing the ransom and plans to dispose of her body. Cummings's confession was read aloud, sealing their fate. The defense's arguments rang hollow against the overwhelming evidence of guilt. Sentenced to a cage of regret. After days of testimony, the jury reached a verdict. Guilty. Joshua Torres and Dwayne Cummings were found guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced them to life in prison without parole. Their crimes were heinous, a betrayal of humanity. Torres and Cummings would spend their lives behind bars. Kimberly Antonakos would never be forgotten. Section 1. A community forever marked. The brutal murder of Kimberly Antonakos sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community of Brooklyn. The streets, once familiar and comforting, now held an undercurrent of fear. The innocence, the belief that such horrors only happened elsewhere, was shattered. The media descended upon the neighborhood, their cameras capturing the grief and anger of residents. Kimberly's story became a cautionary tale, a reminder that evil could lurk in the shadows of even the most ordinary lives. Parents held their children a little closer, their hearts heavy with worry. Neighbors, once accustomed to casual greetings, now eyed each other with suspicion. The fabric of the community, woven from trust and shared experiences, had been torn apart. The investigation, the trial, the sentencing, it all happened so fast. Yet the passage of time did little to heal the wounds. Kimberly's absence was a constant ache, a void that could never be filled. Would have to endure their pain. Section 3. Kimberly's light still shines. Kimberly Antonakos may be gone, but her light continues to shine brightly in the hearts of those who loved her. Her story, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the darkness that can lurk in unexpected places, serves as a call to action. It reminds us to cherish our loved ones, to never take a single moment for granted. It compels us to be vigilant, to look out for one another, to speak out against injustice. Kimberly's legacy lives on in the countless lives she touched, in the hearts she inspired to choose kindness, to embrace compassion, to fight for a better world. Though the pain of her loss will never fully fade, Kimberly's memory serves as a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of times the human spirit can endure. Her light, forever etched in the tapestry of our lives, reminds us that love, compassion, and justice will always triumph over hate, indifference, and cruelty.